Hello there, friend. Today I have a bit of a casual video for you. People often ask me, what are some of my nitpicks in writing? The little things that are not really that meaningful, but, slightly bother me. And one of those things is when people use words incorrectly. Certain words, of course, there are words out there then, where the meaning is a little bit ambiguous. And there are plenty of those words. English is a little infamous for that. But there are a couple of words, in this case, in this particular video, military words that are sometimes always used the wrong way, or the meaning is shifted to better apply to a particular situation, in the case of the third word of today. So I wanted to kind of sit down and talk about them a little bit, not because I'm gonna be out there pointing fingers being like, you've been using this word wrong, but it's what is that voice? What did I pick? Saying that, I kind of pictured like that one character in the anime, like the short guy with like the swirly glasses, is like, yeah, you can't date Sakura-chan. Sakura-chan is so mine. And he's like the first guy. He's like the first or second guy you beat in the shonen anime. You know what I'm talking about. But anyhow, anime jokes out of the way. There are three particular words that bother me a little bit. And mostly when people, use them wrong. And, again, this video is not about, pointing fingers and trying to make people feel bad. That's not what it's about. As a person whose native language is not the English language, I find there are a lot of words out there that can be problematic. So I want to take this as a chance to talk about these particular words that may be misunderstood. And I want you to go into the comments below and to leave some of the words that, you think are misunderstood most of the time or sometimes, or could be problematic for somebody who's not a native English speaker. I would like to maybe come back to the subject later and compile a bunch of words and, kind of make this video for people who are also not native English speakers like myself. But anyhow, let's dive right in. I wanted to look cool. I totally wanted to look cool. I'm just really burning hot. I'm on fire right now. It's so hot. It's just so hot today. Just kill me now. So what are these three words? Well, the first two words are actually kind of linked together because people keep mistaking these two particular words. And I think I've ranted about this on Twitter like 10 times already, but today is the day where I'll finally make a video about it. These two words are tactics and strategy. Those words are not interchangeable. No matter how much you think they actually are not the same thing at all. Let's take it from the top. Literally, let's take it from the top, the highest point of view in this issue. Strategy is a term that deals with the management of resources over a war campaign. Note two things: campaign, long-term, and resources. People think that strategy is about units moving on the battlefield, and it's not. The strategy is about the management of resources, very closely linked to logistics. One of the things, and this is gonna be mostly, really, ultimately, now that I think about it retroactively, this entire video is just a setup so I can talk about this. One of the cool things about, military warfare, I guess, if I can even talk about it like that people tend to overlook in writing and in particular like fiction, is logistics. Logistics are a huge freaking element of armies. If you can't feed the army, if you can't get food to the army doesn't do anything. People think of wars as soldiers, and they forget that these soldiers need to be fed, and they need to have clothing, and need to have weapons, and need to have all this system. And if you would like to know more about the particular inner workings of military warfare, I guess from the point of view of logistics, there's a really nice podcast called Hardcore History by Dan Carling, I believe. And he recently did a series on World War I. He literally does basically he does audiobooks for all intents and purposes, like really long audiobooks. There's like a 6-part World War I series that he did that is compiled together is like 10 hours of audio, and it deals a lot with like the logistics of World War I and how crazy it was and why World War I couldn't have happened like 50 years prior because the logistics to enable a war in that scale were not possible. So, again, a strategy is about the management of resources. That is why, by the way, games like StarCraft and Age of Empires are called real-time strategy, because they're ultimately about resources over a long campaign. Now, you may be thinking to yourselves, Max, why is strategy different than tactics? Well, tactics is not the biggest point in the scale, but the closest point in the scale. Tactics is about the movement of units on the battlefield. You may be looking for an example, you may be reaching out. Some of you may have already pieced this together, wonderful smart you. That is why there's a game called Final Fantasy Tactics. Movement on a battlefield is small, focused on units. You may also be wondering, and for those of you who have read The Art of War by Sun Tzu, he refers to as the great leader must be a great strategist, not a great tactician, because leaders are a dime a dozen. A strategist, one who manages resources, is the greatest leader of all. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, and I'll just address this right now. Wow, Max, total hipster, talking about Sun Tzu's Art of War. Did you also read the Book of Five Rings? Yeah, I did. Of course I did. I'm a giant nerd. Those books are nice. They're ancient as hell, but you can apply them to anything. That's like they're timeless values like efficiency and punctuality, and of course you can apply them to anything. They're nice. You can go look them up or not look them up. They're all fine. This is the greatest video yet. I've been making video game jokes. I made an anime joke earlier, and I referenced Sun Tzu's Art of War. What else could it possibly ask for? How about moving on with the point? One additional thing about tactics is that it deals, it's people moving, because I know that you can imagine that a lot of warfare is people killing people, and that is true, but most of the old school warfare, and we're talking before Napoleon's time, was units moving, because there wasn't a lot of long-range artillery or things of that sort, so you have to get there just to be able to start, rubbing swords against each other, which is also the title of my upcoming gay romance novel, Rubbing Swords. Anyhow, movement. Things moving. That is why it's called Final Fantasy Tactics. And additionally, if for all of you nerds out there, in Fire Emblem Awakening, the latest one for the 3DS, and by latest I mean like 3 years ago, your main character is called a tactician because you can grant your allies a boost of mobility on the battlefield. So, I'm not crazy, and I know that it's a totally small nitpick, and I totally get it, but interchanging those two words, it's kind of like muddying the waters when they don't mean the same thing, and they're closely related and intertwined, sure, but they mean different things. I guess it's a little bit like using the word literally, which I literally use all the time, and I know that it's silly and it's nitpicky, but, we're talking about words that are oftenly misunderstood. And it's entirely likely that during the course of your life, you've been playing games with your friends or something, and you're like, he's got a really good strategy. And that may be correct in a game like Mario Party, but not in a game like Call of Duty or Halo or stuff like that. So, now that you know the difference between strategy and tactics, let's talk about the last word that I have issues with. And this is not really an issue of like people using this word incorrectly, but people purposefully muddying the waters of the definition of this particular word, or ignoring the use of this word in particular situations. This deals mostly with like newscasts and stuff like that, or people trying to spin things around. And what is this word? The word is casualties. People, and the main problem with this word, by the way, is not that people use it wrong, but it's like people use it or avoid using it, and by effect, people think that it means something else. Casualty, people usually think that it means dead people. People you kill in war. You killed 6,000 people, that's 6,000 casualties. That statement is, of course, erroneous. So what does the word casualty mean? Well, casualty is a measurement of the loss of battle strength within a particular army group or the entire army itself. What can make you a casualty? Well, clearly you can die, you can become sick, you can become injured, you can desert the battlefield, or you can just be missing. All of these different elements aggregate themselves to the lack or the loss of firepower, of battle strength. You no longer have this amount of people to fight with. People generally assume that casualties equals deaths, and I would like to formally thank Newscast for twisting things around. You will often find, and consider this before anything, consider this a lesson of Max teaches you to never believe anything you're ever told, except when I tell you. Whenever people are trying to make the number of casualties seem like it's less than what it is, they will focus on deaths. They'll be like, this battle happened and only 50 people were killed. Yeah, but there were like 3,000 casualties. That number suddenly becomes a lot bigger when you actually look at the entire scope of losses. And when people are trying to make things seem out of proportion or really, really, really big, like, oh dude, we did so well in this battle. Man, this newscast is really like laid back. Hey dude, welcome back to laid back news. So we fought them and we got they got a total of 50,000 casualties. But yeah, there could be like 10% deaths there, People like to consider casualties when they want to portray a particular message. Now, this probably bears no significance or has no use in your proper writing, but it's something that I want you to keep in mind. And also, and again, you may consider that maybe in one of your stories, you want one of your characters who's trying to spin the war in their favor, or to make it look like they're winning, to maybe consider taking the casualties number. You know, again, you can use this both ways. You can choose to be truthful about it, or you can choose to perpetuate. That makes it seem as though I'm blaming you, but you can twist words. You know, language is not set in stone, and I get that. And I get that people can, you know, interchangeably use tactics and strategy. That's fine. I don't really care. If anything, I feel like I created this video mostly for people like me, people who are not born in the US, people who are not native English speakers, and they may be troubled by particular words out there. I would actually love to come back and do a more formal video on words like this, and I would actually love for you to go into the comments below and leave suggestions for words that were a problem for you, or words you think that people misuse a lot. And I think that would be really useful, and I'll give you a little bit of a personal story to close today's episode. For those of you who don't know, and I guess I haven't actually talked about this in a long while. I wasn't born in the U.S. I moved to the U.S. when I was 13 years of age, and I picked up writing and reading English within 6 months. Apparently I did pretty well. Like I just clicked for me. Speaking English, though, took me like 2 years to even be confident reading out loud in class, just 2 years. And most of that boiled down to the fact that there are a lot of words in English that are like, they're like the sort of things, I mean, because the pool of words that you need to be able to communicate yourself clearly is just like 200 words. With 200 words, you can basically get through any conversation. You won't be very articulate, but you can actually get through. There are countless, thousands upon thousands of little words that you're never going to use. And the one time that you need them, you're going to probably botch them. And that's what it feels like to be I guess, not be a native English speaker. And a little bit of a personal story. One of those words for me was chef. Because I always pronounced chef as chef. Because that's what I thought the CH sound would be pronounced as someone who speaks Spanish natively. And it wasn't until like 13 years of living in this country that somebody pointed out that I've been pronouncing chef as opposed to chef. So little things like that. It's weird being a non-native English speaker because there are basically, it's like walking into a minefield, and it's a huge minefield. And by that I don't mean that there's a lot of mines, but there's a lot of space to cover, and you can at any time just trip on a mine. You can spend your entire life. Don't mind my computer going crazy. You can spend your entire life never ever tripping a landmine. You can spend your entire life never needing more than those 200 words. Or, like me, you can trip everywhere along the path. Of course, it's been a long while, and being a writer, reading and writing a lot has absolutely helped. As you can tell, I am kind of articulate whenever I'm not speaking super fast or, you know, stammering on my words. Or my dyslexia gets in the way. But we make do. We go on. Life moves forward. So again, if you would like to contribute to this, I guess, upcoming video on, you know, more words that are often misused, please feel free to submit your ideas in the comments below. I would really love to hear what you have to say. English is a very interesting language with a lot of interesting facets to it. Let's use that word, facets. Which, of course, is part of those countless other words that I'm probably never gonna use for the next 5 years or so. I think I've never had to use the word facet in a book, but that's the silliness of English as a language. But yeah, that's all I have to say for today. I hope that you enjoyed today's rather silly, casual video, and by casual I mean I just make jokes 24/7. If you enjoyed today's Final Fantasy jokes and my anime references and just me being my general silly self, please make sure to give a like and subscribe if you would like more. Heaven forbid if this is your first time seeing me on a video. My god. I apologize. I'm usually a lot more serious than this. That's not true. But anyhow, I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I'll be seeing you soon. It's still so bloody hot in this room, and it's not me. Whew.